Hello and welcome to Neuroshambles, the podcast that aims to shine a light into some of the murkier corners of what it's like to parent neurodivergent kids. I'm Mark Allen, and every episode I'm going to be swapping stories with my guests about some of the frankly ludicrous nonsense we have to deal with on a daily basis. So, if you're anything like me and you're feeling frazzled, overwhelmed and pretty much an outcast from polite society, join me. Hello and welcome to episode 12 of Neuroshambles. Welcome back to the podcast, Neuroshamblers. As ever, it is a treat to have you here. Thanks for continuing to listen. And also thanks for the feedback. I'm getting some really nice feedback at the moment. So I just wanted to thank you for that, because it's really nice to know that there are people out there appreciating it. I had a really nice one from Fran this week, who was talking about the social inclusion episode, particularly hitting home with her. She said, in a week where people have both literally and metaphorically turned their back on me, your podcast was an utter delight. I feel very seen. Oh, and I'm fine with the back turning. I definitely feel lighter not having those kind of people in my life. Which is a sentiment I wholly endorse, Fran. So thanks for getting in touch. All the way from Canada as well, which is, I don't quite know how this podcast ever reached your ears, but I was very glad that it found a home there. And it does go to show that experiences of raising neurodivergent kids are pretty much global, which is both uplifting and troubling at the same time, isn't it? Anyway, less about that and more about what's coming up on the show. We're going to be meeting a new guest. We've got a new topic of the week, of course. And then towards the end, we've got the It's Not All Rubbish section, where we'll be looking at some neurodiversity champions that relate specifically to the topic of the week, which is nice. We've got some tiny epic wins and some cracking what the flip moments as well. So I'll stop wittering on and let's go.
Meet the guest.
So I am genuinely excited to welcome our guest to this episode of Neuroshambles, because it's someone that I've been following from afar, not in a creepy way, but for a while, because this guest first came to kind of my attention via her Instagram account, Steph's Two Girls on Instagram. Follow it if you're not already doing so, because it's excellent. And then they released a book which I consumed very, very quickly, basically an audiobook, and I hoovered it up in about 2 weeks. And so I am delighted to be able to welcome onto the show. It is Steph Curtis.
Hi, nice to be here. I am glad you said that the book took 2 weeks, because I was a bit worried you were going to say 2 hours, and then I thought, yeah, it's not very highbrow.
I'd had to have you on super high speed then. Because some people do that when they listen to audiobooks. I can't do that. I like to hear the voice. And that's, the slightly strange thing about talking to you now is that I've been listening to you for ages. So it's lovely to actually meet you. Now, for those people who aren't familiar with your work and your voice and your family setup, can you just tell us a little bit about you?
Yes, so I have been around a while. I have 2 girls, and they are now 18 and 16. And it was when our younger girl was diagnosed with autism, when she was just 2.5, that I started writing a blog online. So yeah, that's 14 years ago now, a long time. And yeah, that's kind of in the last couple of years, that kind of turned into writing a book, and the book's just come out last month.
Yeah, and I love it. It's great. We'll talk about the book later. But in terms of your family, you've got one diagnosed neurodivergent.
2, actually.
Are they both diagnosed now?
Yeah, our eldest was diagnosed in the last couple of years as well.
Okay, since the book was written.
She is also autistic, but very different. Clearly was very good at masking through most of her school life.
Yes, okay. So that's a recent development. That's
fairly, yeah.
Autism. And then your youngest is diagnosed autistic with PDA as well.
With a PDA profile, yeah.
Yeah, because you can't. I don't know. Can you diagnose PDA?
That's a question for the PDA Society.
I was going to say it's sort of like part of the colour of their profile, as you say.
Yeah, it's like a description of the type of autism. Yeah.
Yes. So it's all going on in your household. Are you happy for us to use the girls' names, by the way?
Yes, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got the youngest, which is Sasha, who has PDA, and the oldest is Tamsin, who is now diagnosed autistic. Okay, well, thanks for introducing your setup, and we will crack on with the topic of the week.
What's the topic of the week?
So the topic of this week is one that I've been kind of itching to talk about, pardon the pun, for ages, because it's a major factor in my kid's life all the time, and I think for a lot of neurodivergents, and that is the subject of clothing and wearing clothes, because obviously to most humans, clothing is hugely important. It is seen as one of the fundamentals that separates us from other species in the animal kingdom, even more so than the capacity for reason, which, let's face it, seems to elude a surprising number of people that I talk to on a daily basis. Um, but there is an expectation that clothing is worn, and people view clothing as a way of sort of expressing personality. But again, as with so many other facets of our life with neurodivergent kids, it's not simple, is it? There's nothing simple about just wearing clothes. And I wanted to explore some of the struggles and the challenges that we face, because there's a bit in your book that you talk about that, and so many of the things you said just were so familiar with me and rang so many bells. So I thought we could have a good chat about it, because it's been quite a factor in your life, hasn't it?
Oh, totally. Yeah. Sensory issues as a whole, obviously the other aspects of it as well, but clothing, yes, has been a challenge.
Because it is, fundamentally it's a sensory thing, isn't it? The objections I think that our kids have to wearing clothes, based on how they feel, not because of how they look, very
Yeah.
rarely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Itching, as you said at the start.
It's a minefield out there, isn't it? Like any reason to kind of reject clothing, my kids seize upon it in a moment. Labels is a major issue.
Yeah. We didn't have to go as far as cutting the labels out, although I know a lot of people do.
Oh, you did well.
Depending on how soft the label was and where it was, of course.
Oh yeah, the location of label, and
Yeah.
also just they hide them everywhere. Labels,
Yes.
they're not just like just behind the collar. You get the ones down the side, and
Yes, they're worse, I think.
yeah, and some sort of escape notice for a while, and then all of a sudden they'll be discovered sort of 4 weeks later, and then there'll be absolute outrage that it managed to elude everyone's attention, and then I'm dispatched to cut it out. And have to make sure that it's really smoothly done as well, as seamlessly as possible, like trim the frayed edges.
Number of labels actually that I have unpicked, kind of, cutting through that tiny little thread to make sure that you get all of the label off. You're not actually just cutting it off, because then you're left with the edge.
Because even just knowing it's there is enough for my kids. And seams as well. Seams is a big thing.
Yeah, seams was the first thing I think that kind of, caused us to be aware of this, because Sasha would struggle leaving the house, struggle with putting socks and shoes on. And socks were the major issue.
Yeah.
They were never right. I would have to take them off, put them on again, take them off, put them on again, like hundreds of times before we could go anywhere. And I remember she went through a whole winter, 2 winters, not actually wearing any socks. And actually, I wanted to go outside with no shoes on either, so that was fun. But yeah, it seems at that point we did find seamless socks, and they were a lifesaver. Now.
I did. I recommended those on one of the other podcasts because I discovered them really recently. It may well have been from something that you put on your Instagram account. I was like, "What? What are these things? Seamless socks? They're bamboo socks." And they did make a big difference in our household, because they are. I mean, firstly, they do feel amazing. They do feel really soft, but they don't have the seams, and that's, I think, the issue with, certainly with my kids, is the feeling that the seam isn't straight. That was the big issue, that they needed it to be straight across the front, and if it was a tiny bit wonky, and if your foot has been in a shoe for ages, it's going to be wonky in no time, especially the amount my kids wriggle around.
Yeah. Maybe they need to think about putting glue or something on the inside to keep the sock in place. And
I think that would cause more issues than it solves in my household. But yes, the amount of times that I've had kind of these battles with wearing socks in particular was a big thing. And also the feel of clothes as well. That was another major issue in our household, of they feel a little bit itchy. Is that a thing that Sasha is experiencing?
I was looking back, because I did write a blog post about this it was probably about 6 years ago now, but we were at the stage, we went through several years where the only thing Sasha would wear was short-sleeved jersey dresses that weren't tight, didn't really touch her body. And they got more difficult to buy as she got older because other girls of that age didn't want to wear that kind of style. But and I'd go out into the shops and I'd find short sleeve jersey dresses, but then they'd have a big embroidery patch on the front, or
Oh, hell no.
seams that went in different directions. And it just had to be super plain.
And
Super
sometimes
simple.
you have to try it on, don't you? It's like, oh, I don't mean like physically.
Yeah, because that's impossible. Yeah.
No, but I mean, yeah, you do have to sort of go, well, maybe they won't, maybe they'll be all right with this little feature that I'm hoping they don't. Of course, they're not going to be all right with it.
No.
They're going to be outraged immediately because it takes no time for them to spot it.
And feel it, because generally it does. There is something on the inside next to their skin that makes them aware.
Yeah.
Not
I mean,
just being awkward most of the time.
No, they're not. No, that's the thing, isn't it? They don't want to be difficult. They do want to have clothes feel comfortable on their body. You know, when they find something, then they really go for it. Were there any textures in particular that Sasha found difficult?
Oh, and anything that just wasn't soft jersey, really.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Now, India in the whole kind of world of neuroshambles is very often sort of a background artist. India doesn't feature very prominently because the boys present so much more clearly. I think this is where India's going to shine because there are a lot of sensory issues, and it's one of the things that really kind of tipped us off about it. Is that sort of the feel of textures and just things like stickers. She's never liked stickers. She's always been really freaked out by them. And do you remember when you go to the dentist?
Yes.
And the dentist goes, "Great, good job. You get a sticker." That is not a reward to India.
No.
India's just like, what have I done wrong? Why have I got a sticker? I hate stickers. So we went through this thing where every time we went to the dentist, India would choose a sticker, but then insist that she put it on me, which I loved. I'm great. Like I will have a picture of Snow White.
Yeah, you've just taken me right back because that did happen for us as well. Yeah.
So there's the little early warning signs of these sort of sensory processing issues that I had no idea were kind of would evolve to where they are now. Otto is a bit different from both India and Jay. So Jay is also very sensory and has issues with the texture of things very often. Otto will wear most things. His issue with clothing is about the physical difficulty with putting it on. So if it's got a zip, he'll basically avoid it. If it's got a button, forget about it.
Takes too long.
Yeah, exactly. So his whole outfit is just stuff that he can pull on himself, and that seems to suit him. But actually, if I help him put on something else, he's fine with it. So he doesn't have the sensory thing, but he has the physical. I don't know, are either of yours?
Yeah, so I mean, Sasha's 16 now and she still can't tie her own laces.
Okay.
And obviously for a long while we got around that, and possibly easier with girls, but there was a lot of Velcro involved. But now, I mean, she kind of wants to. This is where the PGA really kicks in, though.
Okay.
She wants to know how to do that. But the kind of the practice and her coordination not being as great means it's just not happened yet.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see a world where my kids will ever have laces.
What's the point in them?
That's okay, isn't it? I don't know. I mean, you can get by on loafers.
Absolutely, yeah. Slip-ons.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of things I'm sure you could do. Yeah, I'm not there yet, to be honest. Like Jay is coming up to 11, so it's not. He can still get by on that at the moment. He's not going to be judged by his peers for not having laces yet. But it is a thing, isn't it? Like it's particularly with Otto putting clothing on was quite difficult for him because of his proprioception issues. He finds it really hard to coordinate, so it would cause him anxiety. So there's things that he just refused to wear because of the anxiety, not because of the feel, which has always been a fun process because I have to basically guide him through it. It's never a case of just going, just nip upstairs and get dressed.
Oh no!
And then come back down again.
No.
You have to guide them through talk them through it, the whole process, and I'm hoping that there's a day. Your girls are a bit older now, so is that more likely to happen on a good day?
Yes, so they do both dress themselves now. I'm going to say, but Sasha will wear the same clothes anytime she gets dressed.
Okay, that's fine.
Which at the moment is twice a week because that's the only time she leaves the house. The changing of the clothes is not a big thing because she's found what she likes to wear, and so that's her outfit for going out.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? I think that finding something that's comfortable, that doesn't trigger our kids, that isn't itchy and something that they're not kind of anxious about wearing is a huge moment in anyone's life.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's like, phew, let's buy 10 of each of those because now
that's the thing, isn't it? Stockpiling clothes. It's ridiculous. If you open up Otto's wardrobe, you will find 10 boxed up pairs of the same trainers in different sizes, like we've just robbed JD Sports or something. Yeah, it's ridiculous. So what if I was to look in Sasha's wardrobe, what would I find?
Pink.
Just okay. A lot of pink. A lot of pink.
No, I mean, literally one pink hoodie, one pink skirt. I have just this year, really, for the first time, managed to persuade her to wear some black leggings when the weather was cold.
Okay.
I suspect we've only got about another week of those before it's back to bare legs, short skirt, bare legs, because she's kind of just about tolerate. Because Sasha is always too hot in everything, every situation. She has a fan directed at her 24 hours a day, pretty much.
Okay. Is that a recognised neurodivergent thing? Because all of my kids are always super hot.
Yeah, I don't know if we can generalise and say it's everyone, but it certainly seems fairly common.
There is definitely a kind of a temperature regulation thing going on because the huge struggle I have is with my kids dressing appropriately for the weather.
Yeah.
I
can't remember the last time Sasha wore a coat.
It's a nightmare, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And I don't know what it is about it. And it may well be because they're too hot. So every single time we go to leave the house, I mean, I'm like, it's feeling a bit springier now, right? The sun is out a little bit more. The birds are singing. I'm like, thank Christ, I don't have to battle to get them to wear.
I can tell you, in the back seat of my car, I've got a huge bag, one of those bags for life that has spare boots, spare scarf, spare hat, spare gloves, a spare coat, just in case the car breaks down. And literally, we've been there 2 hours and she finally will admit that she's cold because she's not wearing any of it unless she really has to.
This is the thing, is like, because you feel like you need to pack them, right? Every time I go to leave the house, it's like, well, they're not going to wear their coats, but if I don't have them, that's going to be as big a problem, right? If they need them and don't have them. So I'm always found wandering around with coats draped over me. Yeah. It's so frustrating. Because sometimes I will say, look, it is raining. It's absolutely throwing it down. Can you wear your coat? And I will sometimes insist, and they will sometimes humour me, but it will be like, well, you say that. I think they've worked it out now. They basically get out the house, far away enough from the house for me to not be able to change my mind. Then they take their coats off and give them to me to hold anyway.
Yeah.
Like I'm some butler behind them going, I'll take your coat, my lady. It's so infuriating. But, at some point, as a parent of a neurodivergent kid, you've just got to let it go, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. It doesn't, obviously, Sasha is not feeling the cold. I've just kind of had to accept that. And ignore anybody else giving you funny looks.
That's the big thing, isn't it? Because I do feel very judged when, especially at school drop-off, with India, right? India only wears a hoodie, right? She won't wear anything, sensible when it's absolutely throwing it down or it's literally freezing. And I've had people make comments before. Really? She hasn't got a coat. I was like, of course she's got a coat, dude.
I just can't be bothered to buy her one.
Exactly. No, she doesn't deserve it. She's got to earn it. I mean, like, what kind of parent do you think I am? Of course she's got a coat. She just will not wear it. And it's really frustrating because you feel judged, right?
Yes, totally.
have you ever been on the receiving end of comments?
No, see, I think I'm quite good at just keeping my ears closed and not
Okay.
actually taking any of that in. It's been so many years now that, yeah, I pay no attention to other people.
I think I'm extremely rejection sensitive, so I'm like always on the lookout for that kind of thing. But India had this thing that I noticed, that her teacher, when you go to pick them up from school, her teacher would send the kids out, when they saw their parents, but insisted on them wearing coats before they left, because that's what most kids do, and that's obviously a sensible thing to do. Make them wear a coat because it's raining or it's snowing or it's just cold, right?
Mhm.
And so India would look really grumpy. She'd put it on like a really grumpy face. And then she'd go through the door and literally 2 steps away from the teacher would just take the coat off and either throw it on the floor out of defiance, just like,
Yeah.
or just give it to me. So I actually then, it was quite a big moment for me. I just went up to the teacher and went, "Can you stop doing that, please?"
Yeah.
Like,
What's the point?
there's no point. She doesn't like it. She's suspected neurodivergent, and it's causing her anxiety. And if she doesn't want to wear a coat, let's not force her. And the teacher was amazing, actually. So it turns out he's also neurodivergent. Late diagnosed and was just like, well, okay, I've got you. I got it. I know what it's
Sasha
like.
was maybe a bit more extreme because they did try and make her wear a coat as well, but Sasha was very good at the whole avoiding and refusing and resisting kind of thing. So I don't think they ever had any success with getting her to put the coat on in the first place. So
Did they keep trying?
we gave up. Did they keep trying? No, we gave up. I think just didn't, send it in was the solution. Just go around without it.
Yeah. One of the most frustrating ones was we found a coat that India loved, and it was amazing. It was waterproof. It was fleece lined. It had little bear ears, which India loved. It ticked every box. And then as she got a bit older, the sleeves started to ride up a bit. That's a big issue, I think, for a lot of neurodivergent kids. So the sleeves weren't quite right. They didn't quite go all the way to the end of the arms.
So you're saying that, and I'm doing this with my jumper. And even I remember as a young girl also wanting the sleeve to come over my hand.
So what we thought was a reasonable thing to do would be like, we know you like the coat. I like the coat. Let's just get another coat in the bigger size. Mm-hmm. Not as easy as that, is it, Steph?
No, definitely not. Yeah, been there too.
She refused. She just was like, no, it's still not quite right. Unspecified. It will never be the same as the other one.
Yeah.
So we bought a coat that has never been worn, and I love it. It's such a great coat, and I'm just sort of like, I don't know why we're holding on to it, Steph.
Yeah, I've got new things. I've got new trainers sitting out there that have never been worn because they're not the same as the old ones. Yeah.
None of my kids have been able to articulate that, so I'm just trying to pick up whatever clues I can get as to why this is unacceptable. But has Sasha been able to articulate that a little bit?
No, so equally she's not great at expressing herself.
Okay, so just picking up the crumbs of information that you're getting and trying to knit them into some sort of narrative that makes sense.
Yeah.
We're like Columbo. One of the interesting things about my kids is that they've made me challenge my own view of clothing. Have you had that?
Yes, as in whether it's necessary at all. Or...
Yeah. Well, not at all. I still think there's a time and a place for wearing pants at the table.
Yeah, but I think Sasha actually would be a naturist if she could.
Yeah, well, I mean, she can, but maybe not quite.
Well,
yet,
yeah,
but
she'd have to leave home.
Yeah, to be honest, I think Jay has got those sort of sensibilities because he's much more comfortable naked, right?
Yeah.
He'll get in the house and it's all off then, which is great for him. He's just prancing around. I don't need to see it, but I'm not going to make him put clothes on just to satisfy me. That's fine. You can do this is your safe space. This is your own home. Yeah. You can do what you want. But that can sometimes be awkward if someone comes to the door. Or, as happened to me when I was on a Zoom call for work,
Oh
And
no!
Jay just burst the door open and walked in and asked me like if he could have a banana or something, like,
Yeah,
and I'm like really panicking, like quick, find the camera button.
trying to
But
move the
then,
book around to
yeah,
cover things.
yeah. I like it. Yeah, that would have been excellent. But I didn't think for quick enough. I just
No.
panicked and then like found the camera and turned that off, and then like started telling Jay to just get some clothes on. You can't just walk in here while I'm on a
And then you
call.
forgot that you weren't on mute.
Exactly right. Yeah. So everyone heard me having this conversation with Jay, because also he's arguing with me because because
Wow. Yeah.
because that's what he does. So I'm bickering with him about why he should wear pants while I'm on a Zoom call. Mortifying.
That is interesting because we have that obviously two girls scenario with a dad here. And so, yeah,
Yes.
Sasha was not keen on many clothes, for quite a long time, longer than other children. So it's interesting to think about where is that cutoff line, at what age or stage should you be saying no or making that cover up happen?
Yeah.
It is a challenge.
Yeah, I've not even really thought about that yet, because it's always inappropriate with Jay. He's not shy. He's constantly like thrusting or bending over. it's not anything I need to see. But yeah, there will be that age where that will become a thing, and I presumably he'll feel self-conscious. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that kicks in at some point. He's shown absolutely no proclivity for self-awareness or self-consciousness at the moment, but I'm hoping that creeps in as he gets a bit older. But one of the other challenges isn't just like do they need to wear clothes at all, but it's specific things like socks, as we mentioned earlier. With any neurodivergent kid, I find, and especially with PDA, you have to explain reasons for everything.
Yeah.
If they can't understand it, you have to give them a good reason.
And they ask you why. If you haven't got a good answer, then you're in trouble. Yeah.
Exactly. So when I'm asked, why do I have to wear socks? I'm just like, it's warmer. Well,
Yeah.
we've already established that the temperature is not a good reason. Okay, so your feet will rub in shoes.
Yes.
I mean, I find myself clutching at straws, and then I'm just like, well, actually, there's no good reason at all, is there?
No, you're right. We bought Sasha some of those fur-lined boots.
Okay.
Obviously not the very expensive brand, but yeah, when she was sort of 3 or 4, that sort of age, and so yeah, she didn't wear any socks for the whole.
And did that work season. with the fur-lined boots?
Yeah, because it was soft. They were soft inside, so yeah, why have another layer of socks?
The other thing I had to question, and this is again India that's challenged me on this, is pants. Why do we have to wear pants? Now that's a slightly more difficult conversation to have.
Yeah.
But we found that India had just been sneaking out of the house without pants on, because India was just like, I'll get myself dressed. I'm like, wicked, great, you crack on, fantastic. Someone I don't have to either badger into doing it or actually physically help out. Great. And then one day we just realised that, hang on a second, we never have to wash India's pants.
Yes.
Why is this?
Yes. Although to be fair to her, I agree, pants can be so bloody uncomfortable.
Yeah, true.
Well, I mean, certainly for women anyway.
So that it made me question. It's like, well, hygiene it's a bit more of a reasonable response to that.
Yeah.
So I had to really drill down into, there was like one pair of pants that she would wear. So then I had to really work on, what is it about the pants apart from the picture of the donuts on? I had to really unpick it. But I found out exactly the kind of pants you could tolerate, and I bought loads of those, so that's good. I feel like I did a good job there. I don't think fashion is really anything that for my kids at the moment, at the stage they are at the moment, plays any role in why they wear what they wear. There is, your girls are older, so is that?
Yeah. No, and I mean, for Sasha, it's never really, she doesn't really care what other people think anyway. And
nor should she.
Well, exactly. But she's 16. She is nearly 6 foot tall,
Okay.
And she's walking around in a pink hoodie and a pink skirt. So it does kind of draw a bit of attention, probably from other teenagers who are all in their black hoodies.
Yeah, okay. But is she interested in kind of fashion or
No, and I mean, it's been a while, probably like 5 or 6 years since she's actually been out in the shops and seen any of the
right,
clothes.
okay. Hmm.
We did have one or two kind of sessions like that, like I said, 5 or 6 years ago, so around age of 11 or whatever. But she doesn't want anything with any slogan on it. She
Okay.
doesn't see the point in having California or New York written across your chest. I kind of agree with
I'm
her.
not in New York. What's the point in that?
Yeah, exactly. And she's not wrong. But yeah, no, and like really is very fixed on the colour pink. So other colours have been really difficult to try and introduce. Yeah, and we haven't. Basically. So yeah, look, I kind of get, but that's a pro in a way, isn't it? That fashion is not a big thing for her. She doesn't want to spend lots of money on clothes, so there's definitely
Yeah,
savings there to
yeah,
make up for all those
yeah,
seamless socks.
definitely. I mean, so Jay doesn't really give a hoot because he's at that age now, about 11, 10 or 11. He's not quite 11 yet. Where kids are starting to look towards how they appear and to
Yes.
what they're wearing and what other people are wearing and
What
uh,
brand trainers are cool, what the
yeah,
footballers
yeah.
wear. And things like that.
Clothing as an element of self-expression and a way of identifying their own kind of persona, if you like. He doesn't care what he wears. Like he regularly wears stuff that he just sees. He's found clothing in the street he likes. That's the thing. Don't know. You know when people are throwing stuff out, they just leave a box of clothes and it's like, oh, I've got a cardigan. I like that. I'll wear that. He's not. What is quite interesting, is that he's not really bothered by the gender of the item of clothing. So he'll happily wear a female, in inverted commas for the benefit of the podcast listeners, a female cardigan. Just because he likes the color and the feel of it, I guess, or like there's so he's not really bothered by that. And there was one time where he liked wearing skirts in the house, and that again was purely sensory. So it wasn't any sort of gender expression. It was like, you know what? I like the fact that it's loose and it's
Yeah.
comfortable. I don't feel restricted, and it feels nice. And so yeah, so that was quite interesting in terms of questioning my own view of clothing. I don't know if you're like me when you thought I'm going to have kids and I know how my kids are going to dress. I know how my kids are going to look because I'm going to dress them. I'm going to choose. They're going to be little mini me's,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Did you have those visions?
Yeah, oh yes, definitely. And I suppose because with our eldest, then that did happen.
Oh,
It was only
nice.
when Sasha came along and the PGA stopped all of that.
Because I definitely had this. Well, my kids are going to wear Adidas trainers and they're going to wear, like cool band t-shirts and maybe a check shirt. None of that has ever happened, ever. I've just had to completely abandon that. That's never going to happen. I'm lucky if they wear pants, as we've established. So you've just got to let that slide and let them find their own way. And sometimes I forget that what they're wearing is a bit jarring to strangers.
To the people, yeah.
There was once I went to pick up Jay from an after school thing, and I took the other two to pick him up, and they insisted on wearing onesies and Crocs because again, that is a pretty good staple of neurodivergent kids. It's a very super comfortable and easy to get on and off. And that's all fine. So it was like, great, get in the car, we'll go. And we went into the building and they were wearing that outfit and people were like commenting and going, oh, these guys look great. It's like, it's so familiar to me that it's not even worthy of comment.
No.
But people...
And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's great, isn't it?
No, absolutely. But it's just, you become immune to how unusual that is outside of your own house.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't know how old they're going to be, when or even if they grow out of onesies and Crocs. I have visions of Otto and Jay and India all walking up the aisle to get married, wearing a wedding onesie and Crocs.
Yeah. And why not if they want to?
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to, yeah. I think we should insist all the guests do it as well. We'll make it
Yes.
like a theme wedding. Obviously, as we've established, it is not easy trying to kind of persuade our kids to wear clothes that we might suggest to them. And the problem with this is, how the hell do you introduce them to new clothes? You know, you've alluded to some previous attempts to go shopping. My kids
Yeah.
are not for shopping. I can't.
No.
I can't go.
That was like, I think, 2 occasions that I can think of in the last 16 years. So.
Did you get anything out of it? Any clothing out of it?
No, I don't think we did, but I did. I mean, so this is like a little win that I did actually get her to try some things on
Nice.
in a shop. And that was because, well, largely because she was out of school at the time, and so it was all quiet because it was a weekday morning with no one around. So that helped.
I haven't really tried to get Jay to go clothes shopping because I know that is never going to work. Otto, as long as I'm there, will go anywhere with me, so he'll do it. But he also won't have any opinion, and he'll wear whatever, so that's okay. India, I went clothes shopping with, and that was actually quite fun. Weirdly, because she does actually care about what she wears, but she also rejects a lot of different things because of how they feel.
Yeah,
that's a huge issue. So if I say, do you like this, the first thing she does is feel it. She doesn't care what it looks like. She could go shopping blindfold. In fact, that might be the best way of doing it. Just letting her loose in letting her loose in a clothes shop and go, tell me what you like, and then she'll just be walking around feeling them and going, this one. It's like, okay, I mean, it's a bold look, pantaloons, but why not?
The softer the better.
But that has been the most successful, in that the jumper that we chose is, garish. I think I'll charitably say garish, but she loves the feel of it and she wears it all the time. So I think maybe I have to do that.
Generally, I have to do the ordering at home. I remember the time trying to get some school shoes where I ordered 12 pairs of shoes and had them all laid out across the floor, trying to get her to try them on. That was painful.
Because this is the thing, is that you have to order online.
Yeah.
Like the postman must fucking hate our household. He's got it appears that we've got 12 identical size boxes. What are you pulling here? It's like
they grow out things so quickly as well, don't they? And they're just different ages.
So yes, we constantly, because it's not just ordering them online, it's the extra admin of taking them back again. You have to take them back to the post office, and it's like just to get one pair of shoes that might work
if you're lucky. Yes.
And it is just like this feeling of dread that you get when you're sort of approaching one of your kids with a new item of clothing, just hoping, like, I've tried really hard to get something. Like, you've liked something similar to this in the past, and it is now your size. So, it's like approaching the man from Del Monte with a kiwi. Please, sir. Approve.
Yeah. I'm trying to help you here.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not doing it for me, I'm doing it for you.
Exactly. Just that moment. It's that moment, isn't it, when you're like, you give it to them for the first time. It's like, now it's taken 2 weeks to get here. I've spent a whole evening looking at different options of shorts, right? I've found 4 different types and I've narrowed it down to this one. Now, and you sort of tipped it up to them, but again, you can't go, hey, I thought you'd like these, or do you like these, because PDA would just be like, no, I mean, even if I did, I'm going to say no. So either you just leave them lying around, just happen to have left some new shorts at the top of the stairs. Let's see how that pans out. He just walks past it for like 2 weeks. Or the other one is you just give them some options, a number of different options, and hope that one of them sticks. But again, it's not always the way, is it?
Yeah.
And sometimes it is deeply, deeply frustrating, because it's the expense of all of this is the worst thing. I think this is an unspoken thing about our lifestyle. Is how expensive it is to buy stuff that they might wear once and maybe
Yeah.
even then just to humour you, right?
Yeah.
Just to
Mhm.
get you off their case. All right, I'll wear them. Fine.
Yeah, they
And
say
then,
it's okay, but then actually when it comes to wearing it,
and
to
then,
actually putting it on to go anywhere in it, then actually no, it's not okay anymore.
and then the moment they wear them, you can't take them back now. That's it. It's like
Exactly.
driving a car off the forecourt. That moment, it's like, no, that's it now. It's instantly devalued. It's not just clothing that causes this issue. It is also very, very keenly felt in my family with footwear, with shoes. It's an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, there's only one pair of trainers that Sasha will wear, and they have to have pink on them. In fact, we have managed to move away from the bright pink trainers, like all pink. So now they are black with pink. So we have eventually we managed to graduate a little bit, but yeah, super comfortable trainers, nothing else. So, but obviously in winter when it's raining, that is a bit of an issue because she will get wet feet. She doesn't care. She can't wear. We have tried. We've been through the whole online bit and ordering lots of different boots, and yeah, nothing is right. So stuck with trainers.
Trainers is like a pipe dream for me. With Jay, his neurodivergency sort of manifested itself the kind of most keenly and most early on when it came to footwear, because he was furious about the fact he couldn't get his shoes tight enough. Right, so those Velcro straps, you're like, it's Velcro, right? It's easy to put on, it's comfortable, right? And he couldn't handle the fact that it couldn't be tight enough, and he'd be on the floor like pulling it so tight that his foot was going like purple, and he's crying because it still didn't feel like it was on properly, and it was heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to see this anxiety. They're just shoes, right? And I realized that I think it's the actual ability to adjust it was for some reason triggering for him. So when he wore wellies, never a problem, because a welly's just a welly. You put your foot in it, that's it. I can't make it tighter or looser. It's just a welly, right? So he did that, and then Crocs came in, and for whatever reason, Crocs are like this magical thing for our kids.
Yeah, see, we did have them for a while, but we did move on from them. So there you go. I'm giving you hope for
you moved on. I'm just like, I don't really,
which is unusual.
Yeah, I don't mind as long as, we don't wear Crocs for weddings or funerals.
Well, we wear trainers for weddings around here. So.
No, I don't know. We don't get invited to weddings around here, so I don't know what I'm saying.
No, both my brothers got married in the last 4 years, and yes, there were trainers at the wedding.
Nice,
so,
nice.
Wedding outfits were not necessarily what you'd expect a teenage girl to wear, shall we say?
So, like, Otto will wear trainers, but the other two, again, Crocs is there, and I think it's again because they don't have to change.
What you said about the strap, that takes me back to when Sasha was younger as well. And I think I wrote about that in the book. Actually, there was one day where Sasha wouldn't undo the strap to try and get her pumps on. So the strap was done up too tight to actually fit her foot into the shoe. But, no amount of me saying, here, let me help, let me undo the strap so you can get your foot in. Or, none of that helped. I mean, absolute, complete meltdown over the fact that she couldn't get her foot in these shoes that were already done up. And, in the end, I had to carry her into the car with no shoes on. And I kind of quietly hid that pair away somewhere and took a pair of sandals to school with us that day. And luckily it was kind of forgotten about until the next time she wanted those pumps. But yeah, the straps and not, like you said, needing to be tighter or not being tight enough is an issue.
I mean, because Jay wants to wear Crocs to school, but I was like, I want you to at least sort of wear something more appropriate, because there's. You can't. They're not. He has to walk to and from school. That's a relatively long distance, and Crocs are maybe not well suited. But then I was so happy with myself. When you find something, you're like, oh, I'm a genius. I found it. It's going to work, right? And I found these trainers that are rubber, so they're kind of Croc material, right? But they've got a sole like trainers, but they also have a back on it. But the back is made of like neoprene, like wetsuit material.
Oh yeah.
So it keeps your foot in, but it's comfortable and it doesn't rub.
Yeah. It's soft. Yeah.
And they also looked quite cool. And I'm thinking, if I can get him to wear these pass as trainers. Like at a glance, they were just like normal school trainers. And I tried them on, and he loved them. And I was like, oh, what such a win. I was so happy with myself. And then he lost one of them. I was like,
Oh, no.
oh, damn it. Damn it. So, and he was like, he wanted me to get some others, and I spent so long trying to get them. And I found them again, and I got them online, and they delivered them.
I was going to say on eBay.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. So they delivered them, and they came in the box, and I was like, never guess what I found, Jay. And I opened the box, and these ones, for some reason, they lit up. When so when you walk and they light up, when you're 5, that's the coolest thing in the world. When you're 10 or 11, that is not a thing that you want. You don't want to be drawing attention to your feet at that. So he was just like, no. I was like, oh, for God's sake. So then I found another pair, right? Exactly the kind this time, because I knew that I had to look out for the non-light up ones, and I managed to find them. And then they arrived, and he tried them on. He went, yeah, they're fine. I was like, thank God. And then that was it. The next day, he put them on. Within seconds, he was like, no, I don't like these. They're too narrow. And I was like, but I've just thrown the box away. And I said, Tam, when did the recycling get collected? And she went, this morning. And I was like, oh no. It actually, literally that day. So I've got these shoes. These are the ones. They're here. Look, they're a thing of beauty. Look, Skechers. They're really nice. They're excellent shoes. I recommend them highly for children who can tolerate them. So I'm going to introduce the first ever Neuroshambles giveaway. Because I can't do anything with them. Otto's not going to wear them. India's already basically made a puke sound when I offered them to her for like 4 years time. So I'm going to say, if anyone wants these shoes that have been worn once and then rejected by Jay, they're excellent. They're genuinely good shoes, as you can see, excellent quality. They're Skechers. Skechers, by the way, tend to make really good shoes for neurodivergent kids.
They do, and yet why is it they have like a reputation for not being trendy and not fashionable?
I don't care though.
They're so comfortable.
Yeah, they really are. Like,
I know.
All the shoes
Kids don't, but as soon as you get to teenage.
Oh, really? Okay. All the shoes that Otto wears, Skechers. A lot of the ones that Jay wears, Skechers. I don't know why. They're very soft and neurodivergent friendly. I don't know if that's a thing that they're aiming for, but
it's funny you say that, because I think Sasha's are as well.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? So anyway, for the first ever Neuroshambles giveaway, if you want to email hello@neuroshambles.com and make the case for why your neurodivergent child might like these, I believe they're a size 3. I will just send them to you because I don't want to see them go to waste. There's so many, my house is like a graveyard of aspirational clothing. Oh, maybe they'll like this. No, they won't. So I might as well get someone might get some use out of them. We'll give it a go. Now, obviously, there is always, when it comes to clothing, the very thorny issue of school uniform. It is the bane of my life. Have you had your own issues on the school uniform front?
Yeah, it's interesting because we never thought Sasha would agree to wear school uniform at all. So she was diagnosed 2.5, so before she went to reception. And the nursery that was attached to the school there, they wore like joggers, so a hoodie and jogging bottoms. But at this point, she was literally wearing nothing, knickers at home. So we didn't think she would agree to put on a full jogging bottoms and sweatshirt, not least because of the heat issue that we talked about.
Yeah, yeah.
But we were amazed that she did, because she wanted to be in school and, doing what all the other children were. And, she saw what her sister was going to school as well. So it was kind of like she expected that she had to do it. So she somehow managed to cope with it. But the second we got in the car to come home, it was all ripped off. And I mean, we were lucky the primary school was polo shirts, so they were fairly soft.
Okay.
I'm thinking she must have got, she did get to the stage where she had to wear shirts. And we did spend ages looking for the Velcro fastening ones, and they weren't as popular back then, I think, as they are now. Different kind of variations.
Okay, yeah, that's quite interesting, because I've always struggled, even when I was at school, struggled to see the point of school uniform. There are arguments, pro and cons, and I get that to a degree. But now I have neurodivergent kids, I'm really just like, I'm so anti it because it's so unfair. It's not just a neutral thing of like, oh look, everyone's wearing the same, so no one's going to judge each other on what they're wearing. I see that point, but if it's affecting neurodivergent kids, it's a barrier to learning, and how can that be acceptable in a school?
I agree, totally. And other countries managed without it, so
all the Scandi countries. You wouldn't find a school uniform in a Scandinavian country, and they're excellent. A big part of the decision for where Jay was going to be going to secondary school was based on their uniform policy. Because it's rigid. They have a really rigid policy where they're like, and you hear them sort of defend it as well, which is absurd, where they say, well, obviously we can't relax the rules for neurodivergent kids, because if we've relaxed the rules for one child, we'd have to relax them for all of them. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds like an excellent idea. Yes. Why don't we just allow kids to wear something that they're comfortable in, so that they're not fidgeting and they're not feeling restricted and they're not dysregulated when you're trying to teach them about lessons. So it actually kind of helped in a way for us to be able to get Jay into where we needed to get him into for secondary school, because they're like, well, we can't flex on the policy. Well, I was like, well, this is in his HCP. But you have to be flexible with his clothing, his uniform. So thanks. You've now just given us a reason why we can't go to your mainstream school, which would completely frazzle him. It will. So it was actually kind of worked in our favour in a little bit of a way. But it's just infuriating. Now, India's school have a policy which, when we first started, it's the same school as the boys went to, but India's there now. And they had a policy which at the time I thought was weird and kind of stupid, which was that there is a school uniform, but you don't have to wear it. And I was like, what? I don't understand. Why? What? To make your mind up, right? Like, surely. Like, I don't understand why you would have a school uniform, but then
not enforce it.
But now I totally get it, and it's brilliant. It's been really helpful. So sometimes she might choose to wear a school uniform, but it's never been an issue with India's school, which is great. Now, obviously, we're going up to the junior school. It is a bit more kind of stipulated. But again, we've navigated it before, so I'm sure we'll do it again. I'm all ready to challenge their policy whenever.
Good. Yeah, because it doesn't make sense.
That's the thing. Is like, can you tell me how I explain to my neurodivergent child why your policy makes sense? If you can explain it to me, wicked. I'm on board. I'll explain it to them, and I'm sure they'll be fine with it. But I don't think you've got a very good reason. So we'll have to see. Tam said something really interesting recently, where they said, you don't actually think about the feel of the clothes you put on, do you? And I was like, no. No, why would I? And they were just like, I can't understand how you would not, how that wouldn't affect you. It's like, I just put jeans on and a t-shirt and just go about my business. And it's something that is so kind of crucial and fundamental to the way that they dress themselves and the way that they perceive their kind of their wardrobe. The fact that I can just stick some clothes on and crack on is genuinely baffling to them.
Yeah, I'm with them.
Are you the same as well? Are you?
I'm very much. It's got to be soft.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, it's interesting, isn't it? Oh, yeah, I don't give a hoot, but so I'm very lucky in that sense. But I will definitely fight for my kids' rights to wear
comfortable and be able to learn.
Yeah, I do get slightly baffled when I see parents who have managed to dress their children as they wanted their children to be dressed. Do you ever have that? You say, how the hell did you get your child in that outfit?
Yes.
You see these little children, like these parents, like looking immaculate.
Perfect. Oh, waistcoats for little boys.
Waistcoat. How on earth have you managed to get your child in a waistcoat
Yeah.
and
Are you bribing them with
in a
something like
three-piece suit and Doc Martens and a flat cap? And I'm just like, what? I cannot understand for the life of me how this is even a thing. How is it even possible? Your child has got multiple layers on. They're dressed for the right weather conditions. These kids just accept it. I think there needs to be an uprising. These kids need to realise you don't have to put up with this shit.
I know. I think our kids are more amazing for just realising that doesn't need
Exactly. Oh, come on. I want them to lead the charge. Go, come on, guys. In school, we don't have to put up with this anymore. Get your Crocs out. We're going to storm the school canteen. There's never a case of just wear this. Never a case of just do anything, is it? With our lot.
No, it's not.
But that's never a possibility of just like, this is just what we're wearing. Just put it on. No. This is why if you're taking your kids to any sort of special occasion or there's any expectation to dress a certain way, it's an absolute nightmare. And that's not just weddings, which we kind of touched on earlier, but schools have this all the time of like, it's fancy dress day. It's it is
Anglo-Saxon Day.
Did you have that?
Yeah.
You actually had Anglo-Saxon Day. That's amazing.
I'm pretty sure it was Anglo-Saxon Day.
My God, where'd you get chainmail at this time of year?
Amazon sells everything.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Not that Sasha would wear it.
No, exactly. But it is this when they throw a curveball and they say next week it is whatever it is. Now today I believe is actual World Book Day.
Yes. Yeah, I'll be honest, it never really went down well for Sasha anyway because she hates books. So it's one thing she was not going to do. It was read a book ever. Still now today. So I mean, she can read. She's perfectly capable of it, and she's learned all of her reading from Minecraft. Actual books were not a thing. So if you tried to ask what was her favourite book or what would she like to dress up as, no, not interested at all. And then on top of that were all the sensory issues about, if when she was really young, let's say, 4 or 5, we did manage the odd Disney princess costume for school, which again was always a bit of a surprise because they are not comfortable costumes usually. But for a short amount of time, it would go on and then be ripped off. But yeah, no, as she got older, there was no dressing, outside of the norm or to someone else's idea. No, it was never.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? It's having that sort of suggested to you. Yeah, it's like, no,
an agenda.
I am not.
Yeah, what you should be fitting into.
We have long since just relieved ourselves of all expectations that we do anything to do with that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a child character in every book. You can just have whatever you would normally wear.
Yeah, exactly.
That child in. I did see somebody on social media had done one from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, like put purple or blue like eyeshadow over the face and the hair, and I mean, it looked amazing. But
really,
no way you could get near my daughter's skin with any kind of
good
thing.
God, no. My kids have never been one for face paint anyway. They've been really freaked out by face paint, which I'm glad about because yes. I mean, it's just a bit odd, isn't it? I don't. You're not a tiger. Stop growling at me and get in the car, Toby. Now, what we need to do, in fact, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write a book for children. And the main character is only going to wear Crocs and a onesie.
Brilliant.
So whenever it's World Book Day,
yeah.
all neurodivergent children can just go, I'm that character. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to do that. Yeah. And then...
That's it. You're on to a winner there.
It's not all rubbish.
Now I'm going to focus on the slightly positive side of this as well, because it does genuinely seem, I think you kind of alluded to it earlier, it seems that there are now there are companies that are realising that there's actually a market for sensory school uniform in particular. So I know that Asda and Marks and Spencer's both have sensory ranges now, which we've tried and have been amazing because they're like seamless clothing, no labels.
Yeah.
Is that something that was
so Marks and Spencer and their seamless underwear range again, we've dined out on that.
Not literally, obviously.
School uniform hasn't played a part for us much in the last 6 years. So, but yeah, when Sasha was younger, there were some options like a bit of Velcro or whatever. but not as many as there are now.
It's good though. It's good to see that they're, because I guess the more prevalent that it becomes, neurodiversity becomes, and the more spoken about and the more visible it is, the more these companies will realize, well, actually, I can make some money out, because that's all they care about, really. It's not, they're not doing it for the cause.
No.
They're doing it because there's a market for it.
No.
So the more that we kind of, we buy these things, the more they realize that there's a market for it, the more other options that we'll get.
Yeah.
Right. I also think that some schools are more understanding about having a less rigid clothing policy, like India's school, as I say, which I thought was confused at the time, but I think it's just inclusive, which is great.
Yeah.
Because some kids want to wear school uniform.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to suppress their desire. I mean, it's a bit odd, but you crack on, guys. So I think some schools are doing that. I don't know about secondary schools. That seems to be a bit less kind of flexible.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard. Understood. I mean, a lot of them seem to be getting worse rather than better, which is a shame.
Yeah, because it's not very inclusive, is it? And again, just anything that they do to sort of put up a barrier to learning is insane, for as far as I'm concerned. But I think that there is an awareness again, which is super important. The other positive, and again, it's something you alluded to earlier. The other positive is my kids don't care about expensive clothes.
No,
they're not. They don't care about branding.
Yeah,
my kids are not going to come up to me and ask me for like a 200 quid pair of trainers.
No, mine are the
which
same.
Is wonderful.
Yeah,
I mean, to be fair, Crocs are quite expensive for what you're getting. If you notice that, like they're really expensive. It's just a bit of rubber, guys. But I will pay twice that if it means my kids don't argue with me to get out of the house in the morning. But it's quite nice that my kids are not they're not looking to other people for fashion, and they don't want to dress like other people because of what they're seeing. They just want to dress for practicality and comfort.
Yeah.
And that there's a lot to be said for that, basically. And they're not going to compare themselves to their peers, because I think that there's a lot of that when you're growing up. And if you're neurotypical, you're trying to find your little place in society, right? In that school society, which is a very finely tuned ecosystem, and the pair of trainers you're wearing has a huge impact on how you're perceived by the rest of the school. It's an absolute nightmare. And my kids are not going to have that, which is that's quite nice.
It is good, yeah.
And they'll find, I think they'll just find other kids dressed in the same way and go, oh, that's my tribe, actually.
Yeah.
The Crocs and onesie gang.
They're the ones I want to hang out with, yeah.
Neurodiversity champions.
Have you got any neurodiversity champions for us, Steph?
In terms of clothing?
I mean, if you've got something to do with clothing, excellent.
So I will mention a company called sensorysmart.co.uk, because they are who I first found the seamless socks through, and they explain actually you can have seamless or seam free. There's a difference actually.
Ooh, what is the difference?
Seam free is actually they're still a join, but they're done in different ways, so they're overlocked or different or sewn flat. So there's a lot more thought goes into the clothes, and obviously that does mean there's a bit more money needed for that thought. but the seamless socks have got us through so many years. I don't know where I would be without them.
Yeah, that's amazing. What are they called? Sensory Smart?
Sensorysmart.co.uk.
Okay. And do they do other, not just socks? I presume there's other stuff in there.
Yes, yeah. Well, sock tights, undergarments, compression vests. Yeah, there's a range.
Great. That's fantastic. I've got a clothing one as well I wanted to mention, because I read an article about an autistic boy called Max, who created his own design of t-shirt because he's got sensory processing issues and didn't like the feel of stuff. So he has created what is brilliant, right? So Comfort Clothing, he set up a company for it, Comfort Clothing, and this t-shirt is called the Fidget Tee, and it is unbelievable. It's got everything for your neurodivergent needs, right? Firstly, it's super soft, and seamless, obviously, and no labels, naturally, like ticks all them boxes because Max knows, right? He's neurodivergent. He's only 11. He's amazing. I think he did it when he was 10. I think he just did it when he was 10. But here's the kicker. The seam has fidget poppers in it. Like, so he can sit in school or whatever and just fidget without kind of drawing attention to himself. Little subtle bit of fidgeting while you're sitting in a cinema or waiting for a bus or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's an absolute inspiration.
Brilliant. There with you all the time.
Have you ever seen this guy interviewed?
Yes, yeah, I followed Max and his family for a while. Great.
He's amazing. I just love to hear the way he talks. It's like, oh man, he's like, yeah, he's an inspiration. So keep that going. He is a true neurodiversity champion.
Yeah.
Excellent work.
Tiny epic wins.
Okay, on to the tiny epic wins section now. Do you have any tiny epic wins that you wanted to flag?
Oh, so I mean, I guess I already covered that a bit with actually managing to get Sasha into a shop and into a changing room and trying on some clothes outside of the house. That's I mean, it was 6 years ago, but yeah, that sticks in my mind as an epic.
Still dining out on that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely should as well. Yeah, I know it's not easy. So I am slightly cheating on this one in that what I'm going to talk about is not tiny. It's just an epic win. Because it's something that I've been sort of discussing throughout all the episodes of Neuroshambles a little bit is we've been trying to find the right secondary setting for Jay. Because he's really struggling in school at the moment. He's, what we kind of believe to be autistic burnout. He's getting very kind of angry about everything and he just can't face going in, and we've got him on a reduced timetable at the moment, which again was an epic win, but that's not even what I'm talking about, because we've got him into a specialist setting for autistic kids who are smart but just not school shaped. They just can't handle the sensory input of the school environment or the rigidity of it, or everything that encompasses. And there is a huge demand for this kind of setting. And where I live in Brighton has one.
There's none in our whole county.
It's been really, really hard to try and get him in, and we've had to put our case. You know what it's like. You have to forensically put together a case to go, this of all the children, this is the perfect thing for my specific child. And he got in, and not only that, he went to visit it last week, and he loved it.
Right.
Which is like, because, after, what it's like, after all this, we could have visited it, and he gone, nah, don't like it. I was like, fucking hell. I've got 4 years of having to persuade him to go in every day now. But he went, and he was like, he really liked it. And I can't tell you how much of a weight off our mind and how much of a win that feels like. So I just wanted to share that. I feel quite emotional about it.
Yeah.
It's been amazing.
Yeah.
And Tam has definitely done a fantastic job there. I mean, I've done my bit, but it's been driven by Tam, as most things to do with the kids' education. So I'll celebrate that win.
Good. Yep.
What the flip?
Okay, the final section is the What the Flip section of the podcast, where we talk about any moments that have completely dumbfounded us from our neurodivergent kids. Do you have any What the Flip moments from Sasha?
Gosh, there are probably loads. Not many that I can remember. I do remember Sasha saying once, although I can't remember if it was to me or more likely to her dad, she said, "I found my people and you're not one of them." That's quite, quite straight down the line. No.
That is brilliant. That is
just honest. Like, it's fine. Yeah, okay.
Oh man, I'm going to use that on someone. Can you imagine that from the mouth of a neurotypical? That would have double impact. That's fantastic. I found my people and you're not one of them. That's incredible. Excellent work. I've got a couple, obviously, from Jay this week. One of them is, he said, "My reactions are slower than a hornet. I was going to say a slug, but I'm definitely quicker than a slug." So there's that. Another one, and I think this is definitely a PDA thing. He was struggling to open a bag of muesli, right, with his hands, and I'm literally holding a pair of scissors, watching him do it, and he's really struggling. And I hold the scissors, and I said, very reasonably, do you want to use the scissors I'm holding? And he, without skipping a beat, he just shouted, "Scissors are a vice!" And then he just carried on. Refused to accept my help.
Yeah.
Scissors are a vice.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Love it.
And then, I know there's sort of similarly, what the flip? Is he was drawing a picture of a Pokemon.
Mm.
And it was very good. He's good at drawing. And he drew a picture of a Pokemon. I was like, I like that. Why don't you colour it in? It looked really good if you coloured it in. And he just looked at me and went, "I don't like colour. It's newfangled."
Brilliant.
This newfangled thing that colour is. I don't know what he's talking about. So that is it for this episode of Neuroshambles. Now, before we finally sign off, I just wanted to mention your book, Steph, because it is brilliant. I love it.
Thank you.
Like, genuinely, it is an inspiration. So for those of you who don't know, it's called PDA in the Family, and it's about Steph and Steph's neuroshambolic family's encounters with PDA, pathological demand avoidance. Obviously, we've been touched by PDA in our own household, and I have listened to audiobooks. I can't read them. I don't have time to sit down and read, but I can listen to audiobooks all day long. And I listened to one of the more clinical ones, which I think you recommended, actually. I can't remember what it's called. It's
The main one, Understanding Pathological Demand Avoidance Syndrome in Children.
Yeah, which, as you can imagine, is quite dry. Like, it is brilliant. Like, it's really informative, but it's not really what I wanted to hear. And you wrote the thing that I want to hear, because it's the anecdotal evidence of it. It's the stories. It's the real kind of tangible human element of it. And I loved it. I thought it was great. So thank you for writing
Thank you very much.
Do you want to tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, so I mean, it covers all our family's experiences, really, from that day of diagnosis when Sasha was just 2.5, and then all the way up till the age of about 14, and kind of our struggles. Some of it is about their struggles with the school system and education. There's a good chapter on not finding school, but then I also look at things like sensory issues and relationships, and just a whole variety of topics that have gone on in the last several years.
And the little bonus chapter from your husband as well. Which
I forgot to mention this. Everybody keeps telling me that his chapter is the best, so I'm trying to pretend it doesn't exist.
No, it was just nice to have a different perspective.
From a male. So, but he only had to write one chapter. I had to write the other 12. So he had the easy job.
Do you think he's taking all the plaudits? Seems a little unfair. But I will obviously put a link to that book in the show notes, and I highly recommend, if you've got a child with PDA or suspected PDA, to have a read of that. And it's really informative and definitely worth getting.
Thank you.
Right. Other than that, I think this is just my time to bang on about the socials. If you're interested, we're on Instagram and Threads and Facebook and Reddit. If you have anything that you want to kind of feedback about this episode, or any suggestions for topics you'd like to hear me talk about, then please feel free to email hello@neuroshambles.com. It'd be great to hear from you. The only thing that remains for me now is to say, Steph, thank you so much for your time and for coming onto the podcast to share your neuroshambolic life. Thank you to the audience for listening, and have a nice life.